guys, and welcome back to my channel. We are back for yet again some more Pokemon Creepypastas. So today we are reading Ashamed. I don't remember what this one was about, but it is quite lengthy, so I say we have a good maybe 10 minutes of footage here. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into it. I'll try and read as slow as I can. I usually read very, very fast. Sometimes I also stumble over my words because I read so fast, because this can take in more information than what my mouth can get out. So sometimes I'll stumble over and not realize what the fuck I'm trying to say. So I apologize if that happens. So yeah, let's just get right into it. It was one of those cloudy, rainy days. I was actually kind of glad for that. I hated the sun. Indoors is more of my thing. Anyways, before I accidentally get off subject, my dad was going to this indoor volleyball thing. I didn't really pay attention to the details as I didn't care much for sports. I asked if I could stay in the car and he said that was fine. As soon as he left, I locked the car as I'm very paranoid. Then I turned on the radio to my favorite station and turned up the volume as loud as I could without bursting my eardrums. Now that I felt comfortable. I pulled out my Game Boy, which I had brought with me. Inside was Fire Red. I turned the volume on my Game Boy down as I wanted to listen to the radio while I played my game. It had been a while since I played the game. When my save file loaded, I found myself to be standing on Treasure Beach, that island below one island. I opened the menu and clicked on my Pokemon to find my normal party, except for a Dratini that I normally didn't use that had an XP share. I wondered why I was training the Dratini the last time I played. Shrugging it off, I exited the menu and flew back to the Pokemon Center at One Island. I went to my PC and revealed that in the memories of all my Pokemon I had caught there brought back to me. After looking through all the boxes, I got bored. I didn't really know what to do. Then I got the idea. I was going to stop being lazy and level up my team so I could finally beat the Elite Four. I never really found any good training places in the game, as why I never beat the Elite Four, but I had nothing else to do, so I thought I might as well train them up. I took the XP share away from Dratini and placed it in my box I had that was full of Dratinis. That left me with my 5 main party Pokemon: Spark the Zapdos, Flame the Charizard, Machoke, Pidgeotto, and Golduck. My last 3 didn't have nicknames. I thought about finding a different and better water Pokemon to replace my Golduck. I didn't really like his moveset and just him in general. He wasn't that special to me. The main reason I had him was only because so I could have a Pokemon that knew Surf. After a bit of thinking, I decided I should just keep him because I didn't feel like training up another Pokemon to his level of 51. Then I realized I should probably find a 6th Pokemon since I had space for one more. I was eager to start training those, so I thought I would find another Pokemon later. I saved and left the Pokemon Center and surfed to Treasure Beach. I gave the XP share to Machoke as he was currently the weakest. With Spark in front of my party, I started training. The wild Pokemon were in the levels around 30s to early 40s. They were very easy to beat though, as most Pokemon I fought, Spark had a move that was super effective against them. While battling, I sang along loudly with the song playing on the radio. After 30 minutes, Spark and Machoke had gone up quite a few levels. I saved the game and continued training. During one of the battles, I randomly started thinking about a shiny Pokemon and how I knew someone on the internet had said to make sure you always had Pokeballs with you in case one showed up and how pretty they looked. After a battle, I checked to see if I had any Pokeballs. I found a ton of Ultra Balls, and I felt satisfied and continued training. Although I knew my chances of finding a shiny then and there were very slim. After being a couple Tangela, trashing a Meowth, I ran into a male Persian. I practically screamed when I saw stars fly around it. I kept yelling, "Oh my god, holy crap!" and the like for a few minutes while staring at the screen in shock. I couldn't believe I actually found a shiny. This wasn't my first though, as I had run into a shiny Snover, but accidentally fainted it because I didn't know what the shiny was back then, and I had caught my own shiny Flygon with some help from my little sister. This was still a very exciting moment for me, as it would have been for any of you. I loudly cursed profanities. I remember my entire team was made up of high-level powerhouses. A sense of hopelessness washed over me as I searched through my Pokemon summaries to see if any of them had weak moves, which none of them possessed. A little hope sparked in me as I checked Golduck's summary, as he was the weakest in my party then. He had the move Rock Smash, which despite being a fighting type move that was super effective to normals, it didn't do much damage. He was my only hope, so I switched him out with Spark. The shiny Persian attacked with Payday, which didn't bring forth much damage to Golduck. After its turn was over, I chose for my Pokemon to use Rock Smash. Thankfully, it only took about 1/4 of Persian Shade's P. After it attacked me again with another Payday, I decided to use one more Rock Smash would be good. I hit it with a Rock Smash again. It was a critical hit. I screamed in rage as the shiny Persian fainted. I kept throwing profanity at the Golduck, despite me knowing it wouldn't accomplish anything. After many moments, I finally cooled down and decided to just put it all behind me and forget it ever happened. I thought Spark was trained enough, so I switched it out with Pidgeotto and started leveling him up. After about 15 minutes of battling, I started getting cheery again. I sang along with some of the radio songs to boost my spirits. After a while, I thought Pidgeotto had enough training, so I checked my Pokemon to see which one would train next. Spark had enough training, Flame was already incredibly high, Machoke had enough training since she had held the XP share the whole time, Pidgeotto was done, so all that was left was Golduck. I still personally blamed him for making that shiny Persian feint, even though it was the game that decided that when the critical hits happen, but I switched him out for Pidgeot and started to train him anyways. I didn't train him for long though. He kept missing too often, and when he did hit the Pokemon, it didn't do much damage. I kept training him, hoping this would eventually stop, but it didn't. Useless piece of crap, I muttered as he missed hitting a Meowth. Just then, though, something very odd happened. The radio started to static. It would cut off, come back on, have static, go off again, and come back on. It kept doing that for a solid minute until it just shut off. I sat in my seat and whimpered like a dog. At the time, I had recently been watching one too many scary videos, and the fact that it had become foggy outside didn't help either. I decided I would turn up the volume on my Game Boy to drive the silence away. The music emitted from the Game Boy sounded reassuring, and I tried to just push what just happened in the back of my mind. I walked a bit in the grass, and a wild Tangela appeared. During the battle, though, there was no music. Sound effects still played, though. My Golduck started acting strange, though. Whenever he missed, the animation would play for him like when your Pokemon gets hit with Astonish. Golduck was still missing too often, so I switched him out with Flare and ended the battle quickly. The next Pokemon I ran into was a wild Persian. I half hoped it would turn out to be a shiny, but of course it didn't. There was still no music in the back. There was still no music, and the sound effects still played. When I selected for Golduck to attack, though, he refused to. The text would appear, "Golduck is too ashamed to attack." I was getting very worried at this point. This definitely wasn't normal, and I had no idea what to do. Once the text box went away, the Persian attacked with Payday. Golduck surprisingly went down in one hit. I brought out Flare afterwards, who beat the Persian in one turn. After the battle, I checked Golduck's summary. Everything was still the same, except for his nature, which had changed. Instead of adamant like it used to be, it was now ashamed. I was scared, to say the least, as I've never encountered anything like this in one of my games before. I exited the menu and walked to the grass with Flare now in front. I jumped when the radio suddenly came back on. After taking a moment to recover, I started to feel relieved. I then assumed the whole mess must have had to do with Golduck. I said I would just not use him for a while and hope things eventually would go back to normal. I flew back to the Pokemon Center on one island and healed my Pokemon, saved, and went to the PC. I decided I would use my Hypno as my 6th Pokemon. He was already a decent level. He only had a little bit training to do to be in the range as my other Pokemon. I put Golduck in the PC and hoped when I would be done training Hypno that he would be better. It didn't take long for my Hypno to be in the same range level as my other Pokemon. Once I was done training him, I flew back to the Pokemon Center and save. Then I got out my Golduck from the PC and found him a couple of rare candies. I really wanted to go ahead and beat the Elite Four then, and I didn't feel like training another water Pokemon to replace Golduck. I just had to hope that things were back to normal with him. I flew to the Indigo Plateau, bought a ton of items, and went to challenge the Elite Four. They were surprisingly easy, and I practically flew through them. But the battle against my rival was a different matter. It was a very tough fight, and eventually it was down to his Arcanine and my Golduck. They both were down to a little HP. This was it. I couldn't fail now. I ordered for my Golduck to surf with his click claw, he was able to go first. The surf animation started to play and my heart started frantically beating. But in the middle of the animation, the giant tidal wave stopped and disappeared. Golduck can't concentrate. Surf failed. What? I screamed at my Game Boy as Arcanine finished off my Golduck with Bite. I started yelling at my Golduck for failing on me with a critical moment yet again. It was partly my fault as I should have known better than to use my Golduck in the Elite Four when he had been messing up, but I didn't care. The game returned to me The game then returned to me in the Pokemon Center that was right before the Elite Four. I thought about turning off the game, and my Pokemon had leveled up a lot during the battle, so I decided to save it instead. I then went immediately to the PC to put my Golduck in it, but the game wouldn't let me. Golduck is sorry and won't mess up again, the message appeared every time I tried putting him in my PC. Screw this, I angrily muttered to myself as I clicked on my Golduck and selected release. Thankfully, to me at last, he left without a complaint. After a couple minutes, I thought it might have been a rash decision, but I knew I had turned to the game if I had turned the game off and back on, as haven't saved and released my Golduck. I wanted him back to give him one more chance. When the game had finished loading up, though, Golduck still wasn't in my party. Regret quickly washed over me, and I felt awful for letting him go like that. I told myself there's nothing I could have done to fix him, but I didn't fully believe it. Remorseful, I went to my PC to pick out another water Pokemon to replace my lost Golduck. I pretty quickly decided I would use my female Dragonair named Silver, as I quickly loved Pokemon's design. I decided I would just forget the whole Golduck event ever happened and that he ever existed, just as I did with that shiny Persian, which I cursed myself for remembering. I flew to Vermilion City and sailed out to one island. As soon as I landed on the island, I surfed down to Treasure Beach to train Silver. I didn't get a chance to train her though. As I walked further down the beach, I found a Golduck sitting in the middle of the grass, its back facing towards the screen. Getting a bit scared, I walked forward and talked to it. Golduck is dreaming. As soon as that text disappeared, a battle started. The background was different hues of purple and looked sorta misty. There was also no music, but sound effects at play. A male shiny Persian appeared, but it seemed to be lighter than normal, kind of like a ghost. Golduck came out from the side of the screen where I should have been, but I couldn't control him. Golduck went first and used Rock Smash, which took 1/4 of the Persian's HP. The opposing feline used Payday, which didn't do much damage to Golduck. The blue Golduck then used Rock Smash again, which was a critical hit that knocked out all the shiny's HP. But instead of fainting, the Persian remained. It used Payday and knocked off a little of Golduck's HP down. Golduck would attack, but each time he would miss, the shiny eventually had the blue duck's HP down to a sliver. Golduck used Surfed and it actually worked, but the animation cut off halfway across the screen and the shiny Persian took no damage. Instead of using Payday to finish him off like it had been used before, it attacked with Bite. The Golduck fainted and the battle ended. Once everything faded back to Treasure Island, a text box appeared. Golduck jumped and woke up. There was an exclamation point popped up above Golduck's head along with the more lines of text. Golduck is shocked to see you. Then Golduck's sprite started shivering with more text. Golduck is ashamed. Then another battle started. The background looked the same as a normal fight on Treasure Beach, green and blue. With Golduck appeared, his sprite looked different. There were streaks under his eyes where it looked like it had been crying. His eyes looked slightly red and swollen too. When my trainer came out, she stayed there instead of throwing out any Pokemon. The battle went on without me choosing anything. Golduck used Quick Claw. I wondered how he could use Quick Claw in a battle like that, but before I could think too much about the matter, I found out. Golduck's sprite shivered, and his sprite changed. A Quick Claw appeared to be stabbed in his stomach with crimson blood surrounding it. His HP dropped to 0, and he fainted. The battle didn't end, though. A male shiny Persian appeared on the other side of the screen, except it was lighter than normal, just like Golduck's dream. It let out its cry and then faded to the screen, and the battle ended. Once the game had faded back to Treasure Beach, Golduck was gone. I stared at my screen, my hands shaking a bit. I let out a slight scream as I heard knocking on the car door. Relief washed over me as I saw it was just my dad locked outside the car. I unlocked the car, and he came in and told me that the game took a little longer than he thought it was and that he was sorry. I said it was all right and I didn't mind. He started up the car and we left. When I looked at the radio clock, it said 6:58 p.m. and I had started playing the Game Boy around 3:40. All of what happened on my Fire Red had only taken 3 hours. I decided and continued playing my game, and nothing else strange happened for the rest of the night or the next day. Eventually, I beat the Elite Four with my team, but the victory felt hollow without Golduck. After I beat the Elite Four, I felt so awful for getting rid of Golduck that I decided I would catch a male Psyduck and raise it to be a Golduck and teach it the same moves as my old one. It wouldn't exactly be the same as my old Pokemon, but it was the closest I can get to having it back. So I did just that. The Psyduck I caught also had an animate nature to boot, just like the old. Sometime during my training with my new Golduck, I went back to Treasure Beach. Everything went back to normal until he hit level 51. Right after he leveled up, we ran into a male shiny Persian. I knew this was too much to be a coincidence, but I didn't really care at this point. I still wanted a shiny Pokemon. I used Rock Smash on it, which took away 1/4 of its HP, and it attacked me with Payday. Golduck hit it with Rock Smash. Golduck hit it again with Rock Smash, and it was a critical hit. If I ever came into contact or an encounter to one of those, I think I would genuinely shit myself and not sleep for a week. I remember doing that X and Y Easter egg where you went to one of the hotels and you went to what was it, the fourth floor, and you saw that mystery woman who walked by you, looked at you and said, "No, you're not the one," and walked by and the screen flashed black and white. I nearly pissed myself because of how freaky that was. So having to go through all of this, especially while you're alone somewhere and it's starting to get dark and foggy, nah. And your radio starts acting up and your Game Boy is just no thanks, I'm good, I'm just But yeah, no, that was, I forgot ashamed was about Golduck. I'll get what everyone's hatred on Golduck is. I think Golduck's pretty cool. But yeah, that is basically it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Everything's down in the description. Love you guys, and I'll see you later. Bye.